Chapter 126. Denials at the house of Caiaphas. Matthew 26, 69-75, Mark 14, 66-72, Luke 22, 54-62, and John 18, 15-18, and 25-27. Chapter Overview. Peter denies Jesus. Upon Jesus being arrested in the Garden of Gethsemane, the apostles abandon him, fleeing in fear. However, two of them stop their flight. They are Peter as well as another disciple, evidently the apostle John. John 18:15. They may catch up with Jesus as he is taken to the home of Annas. When Annas sends Jesus to high priest Caiaphas, Peter and John follow at a distance. They are likely torn between fear for their own lives and concern for what will happen to their master. John is known to the high priest and is thus able to gain entrance into the courtyard at Caiaphas' house. Peter remains outside at the door until John returns and speaks to a servant girl who is acting as doorkeeper. Then Peter is allowed to enter. It is cold this night, so those in the courtyard have a charcoal fire burning. Peter sits with them to keep warm as he waits to see the outcome of Jesus' trial. Matthew 26:58. Now, in the light of the fire, the doorkeeper who let Peter in gets a better look at him. "You are not also one of this man's disciples, are you?" she demands. John 18:17. And she is not alone in recognizing Peter and accusing him of being with Jesus. This greatly upsets Peter. He is trying to be inconspicuous, even withdrawing to the entryway. So Peter denies that he was with Jesus, at one point saying, "Neither do I know him, nor do I understand what you are talking about." Mark 14, 67 and 68. He also starts to curse and swear, meaning that he is willing to take an oath that his words are true and to face calamity if they are not. Matthew 26:74. Meanwhile, Jesus' trial is in progress, apparently in a part of Caiaphas' house that is above the courtyard. Peter and the others waiting below may see the comings and goings of various witnesses who are brought in to testify. Peter's Galilean accent is an indication that his denial is false. Moreover, one in the group is related to Malchus, whose ear Peter cut off. So the charge is leveled against Peter. "I saw you in the garden with him, did I not?" When Peter denies this for a third time, a rooster crows, as was foretold. John 18:26 and 27. At that point, Jesus apparently is on a balcony overlooking the courtyard. The Lord turns and looks straight at Peter, which must pierce Peter to the core. He recalls what Jesus said only a few hours earlier in the upper room. Imagine how Peter feels as the realization of what he has done crashes down on him. Peter goes outside and weeps bitterly. How could this happen? How could Peter, who was so certain of his spiritual strength and loyalty, deny his master? Truth is being distorted, and Jesus is being depicted as a vile criminal. When Peter could have stood up for an innocent man, he turned his back on the very one who has sayings of everlasting life. John 6:68. Peter's tragic experience shows that even a person of faith and devotion can be thrown off balance if he is not properly prepared for unexpected trials or temptations. May what Peter went through serve as a warning to all God's servants. Questions for review. How do Peter and John gain entrance to the courtyard at Caiaphas' house? While Peter and John are in the courtyard, what is going on in the house? What does it mean that Peter curses and swears? Peter's experience contains what serious lesson? Chapter 127. Tried by the Sanhedrin, then on to Pilate. Matthew 27, 1-11, Mark 15, 1, Luke 22, 66-23, 3, and John 18, 28-35. Chapter Overview. Morning trial before the Sanhedrin. Judas Iscariot tries to hang himself. Jesus is sent to Pilate to be condemned. The night is drawing to a close when Peter denies Jesus for the third time. The members of the Sanhedrin have finished with their mock trial and have dispersed. Come dawn Friday morning, they reconvene, likely to give some cloak of legality to the illegal night trial. Jesus is brought before them. Again the court demands, "If you are the Christ, tell us." Jesus answers, "Even if I told you, you would not believe it at all. Moreover, if I questioned you, you would not answer." However, Jesus courageously indicates to them his identity as the one foretold at Daniel 7:13. He says, "From now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the powerful right hand of God." Luke 22, 67-69. They persist. "Are you therefore the Son of God?" Jesus replies, "You yourselves are saying that I am." This seems to justify killing Jesus on the charge of blasphemy. "Why do we need further testimony?" they ask. Luke 22, 70 and 71. So they bind Jesus and lead him away to Roman Governor Pontius Pilate. Judas Iscariot may see Jesus being taken to Pilate. When Judas realizes that Jesus has been condemned, he feels a certain remorse and despair. However, rather than turning to God in true repentance, he goes to give back the 30 pieces of silver. Judas tells the chief priests, "I sinned when I betrayed innocent blood." But he gets the heartless reply, "What is that to us? You must see to it." Matthew 27:4. Judas throws the 30 silver pieces into the temple and then adds to his wrongs by attempting self-murder. As Judas tries to hang himself, apparently the branch to which he ties the rope breaks. His body drops to the rocks below, where it bursts apart. It is still early in the morning when Jesus is taken to the palace of Pontius Pilate. But the Jews taking him there refuse to enter. They think that such contact with Gentiles will defile them. That would disqualify them from eating the meal on Nisan 15, the first day of the festival of unleavened bread, which is viewed as part of the Passover period. Pilate comes out and asks them, "What accusation do you bring against this man?" They respond, "If this man were not a wrongdoer, we would not have handed him over to you." Pilate may feel that they are trying to pressure him, so he says, "Take him yourselves and judge him according to your law." The Jews reveal their murderous intent, replying, "It is not lawful for us to kill anyone." John 18:29-31. Actually, if they kill Jesus during the Passover festival, it will likely cause a public uproar. Yet, if they can get the Romans to execute Jesus on a political charge, which the Romans are authorized to do, It will tend to absolve these Jews of responsibility before the people. The religious leaders do not tell Pilate that they had condemned Jesus for blasphemy. Now they trump up different charges. We found this man subverting our nation, forbidding the paying of taxes to Caesar, and saying he himself is Christ, a king. Luke 23:2. As a representative of Rome, Pilate has reason for concern about the charge that Jesus is claiming to be a king. So Pilate re-enters the palace, calls Jesus to him, and asks, "Are you the king of the Jews?" In other words, have you broken the law of the empire by declaring yourself to be a king in opposition to Caesar? Perhaps to find out how much Pilate already has heard about him, Jesus says, "Are you asking this of your own originality, or did others tell you about me?" John 18:33 and 34. Professing ignorance of the facts about Jesus but desiring to learn them, Pilate replies, "I am not a Jew, am I?" He adds, "Your own nation and the chief priests handed you over to me. What did you do?" John 18:35. Jesus does not attempt to dodge the central issue, kingship. He answers in a way that no doubt greatly surprises Governor Pilate. The following is supplementary information. The field of blood. The chief priests are not sure what to do with the silver pieces that Judas throws into the temple. "It is not lawful to put them into the sacred treasury," they say, "because they are the price of blood." So they use the money to purchase the potter's field in which to bury strangers. It comes to be called the field of blood. Matthew 27:6-8. Returning to the chapter. Questions for review. Why does the Sanhedrin reconvene in the morning? How does Judas die? And what happens to the 30 pieces of silver? On what charges do the Jews want Pilate to have Jesus killed? Chapter 128. Found innocent by both Pilate and Herod. Matthew 27:12-14, 18 and 19. Mark 15:2-5. Luke 23:4-16. And John 18:36-38. Chapter overview. Jesus is examined by Pilate and by Herod. Jesus does not try to conceal from Pilate that he really is a king. Still, his kingdom is no threat to Rome. "My kingdom is no part of this world," Jesus says. "If my kingdom were part of this world, my attendants would have fought that I should not be handed over to the Jews. But as it is, my kingdom is not from this source." John 18:36. Yes, Jesus has a kingdom, but it is not of this world. Pilate does not leave the issue at that. He asks, "Well then, are you a king?" Jesus lets Pilate know that he has drawn the right conclusion, answering, "You yourself are saying that I am a king. For this I have been born, and for this I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is on the side of the truth listens to my voice." John 18:37. Jesus had earlier told Thomas, "I am the way and the truth and the life." Now even Pilate hears that the purpose of Jesus being sent to earth is to bear witness to the truth, specifically the truth about his kingdom. Jesus is determined to be faithful to that truth, even if it costs him his life. Pilate asks, "What is truth?" But he does not wait for further explanation. He feels that he has heard enough to judge this man. John 14:6 and 18:38. Pilate returns to the crowd waiting outside the palace. Jesus apparently is at his side when he tells the chief priests and those with them, "I find no crime in this man." Angered by that decision, the crowd insists, "He stirs up the people by teaching throughout all Judea, starting from Galilee even to here." Luke 23:4 and 5. The Jews' unreasoning fanaticism must amaze Pilate. As the chief priests and older men continue shouting, Pilate asks Jesus, "Do you not hear how many things they are testifying against you?" Matthew 27:13. Jesus makes no attempt to answer. His calm in the face of the wild accusations surprises Pilate. The Jews indicated that Jesus had started from Galilee. Pursuing that clue, Pilate learns that Jesus is, in fact, a Galilean. This gives Pilate an idea of how he might escape responsibility for judging Jesus. Herod Antipas, the son of Herod the Great, is the ruler of Galilee, and he is in Jerusalem this Passover season. So Pilate sends Jesus to Herod. It was Herod Antipas who had John the Baptist beheaded. Later, at hearing that Jesus was performing miraculous works, Herod was concerned that Jesus might be John, raised from the dead. Herod now rejoices at the prospect of seeing Jesus. This is not because he wants to help Jesus or wishes to make any real attempt to learn whether there are valid charges against him. Herod is simply curious, and he is hoping to see some sign performed by him. Luke 23:8. However, Jesus does not satisfy Herod's curiosity. In fact, as Herod questions him, Jesus says not a word. Disappointed, both Herod and his soldiers treat Jesus with contempt. They clothe him with a splendid garment and mock him. Then Herod sends Jesus back to Pilate. Herod and Pilate had been enemies, but now they become good friends. When Jesus returns, Pilate calls together the chief priests, the Jewish rulers, and the people and says, "I examined him in front of you, but found in this man no grounds for the charges you are bringing against him. In fact, neither did Herod, for he sent him back to us. And look, he has done nothing deserving of death. I will therefore punish him."
Hey guys, it's Brent. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like this video.